What's the good word, y'all? I'm gonna be going over the weekend. I didn't get to make a video. It's kind of busy, low key. I do want to up front thank everybody for that Hawks draft video. Kind of took off. I didn't really talk about Vasar. I will in this video. This is gonna be Miles Bridges, LeBron, the Warriors, a little bit, tagging some of the big uh storylines in the NBA. And I'm probably gonna touch on John Morant just a little bit because that situation's kind of odd. And at this point, I think Memphis should keep him. I guess I could just say that, and that could be it. But let's get into it. The Hornets made another move. Kind of figured the writing was on the wall. If you're gonna move off of LaMelo, you're probably gonna move off of the 27, 28-year old. Let me double check myself, of course. But I believe he's 27, right? About to turn. No, he's 28 years old. You're obviously taking a rebuilding step. He's going to want to win. You're putting him in a situation that's more probably going to have more wins, but I'm not sure they're going to be great. But this segment's going to talk about, I'm going to talk about both sides of this trade. The Hornets get back Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, 2033 first round pick, which I believe both of those contracts are soon to be over. If not soon to be over, I guess by soon to be over, I believe they're gonna be done in a couple of years. Yeah, you have 2 years of Grayson Allen. I believe Royce has another year or two on his contract. Unprotected 2033 first. A lot of pick swaps. Shams did not clarify. He made it seem like the Hornets traded a 29 pick straight up, but from other sources that I saw, it seemed as though, and Shams clarified later, it seemed as though it was going to be a swap, and it is going to be a swap. They are getting a 2029 less favorable first rounder and a less favorable of the 2027 draft. So they're trading out of 2033, which for the Suns seems crazy to me. I believe I've already kind of covered the Hornets in my LaMelo video. They're hitting the reset button, and there's no problem with that. I think they're just trying to get ahead of the curve. They're probably afraid of LaMelo's injury history. They're afraid of their future. They don't want to be stuck in the Pelican situation where they're constantly having to wait on one player to be healthy. They finally had a really healthy season out of, fairly healthy season out of LaMelo, and they did great, especially when he's on the floor. He's a really good player. But of course, if you want more on that, you can go to that video. For Miles Bridges in particular, he's solid. I don't think this is a needle mover for the Suns. This combined with the Colin Gillespie and Jordan Goodwin moves kind of tells me that they don't want to be the worst and they don't want to throw the towel in, probably on Books, to keep Book happy. Because if they throw the towel in, Book would ask out. In the same vein that if the Timberwolves tried to tell Anthony Edwards, who reportedly and probably is disgruntled in a way, oh, give us a couple of years to build through the draft to try and, make some moves around the edges, blah, blah, blah. In a couple of years, guys like Rudy Gobert are going to be way older at the end of their contract. You know, what if Jaden McDaniels gets upset, and he leaves in free agency, forbid, for Timberwolves fans' sake. But overall, I mean, the Hornets, good vets, future pick, trading away some swaps and swapping with the Hornets and for this or swapping with the Suns. For the Suns, I don't love it. You're kind of committing to a core that it just seemed like you guys weren't infatuated with or thought would be successful after, the Kevin Durant move. And now you're kind of doubling down on this pretty good team. I think they're going to be pretty good, but I feel like the ceiling is how many games can Devin Booker in the playoffs give you 30 to 45 because there's nobody else in this team that I feel ultra threatened by. I mean, Miles is going to be your second option. He's not the most efficient, but it's not so inefficient you're like, oh, this guy's terrible. It's just not necessarily the duo that I think is going to win you a championship. But hey, I mean, if an all-star point guard were to ask out at some point and you have more assets, which the Suns don't really have a ton of assets, and you have some assets that that team might want to get an all-star guard or wing that can score the ball, then I guess, take a shot on it. I'm going to talk about LeBron. Yeah, the Warriors rumors. Interesting. I saw those on Twitter and I was not really. Oh, we'll have a live reaction here in a moment. Sham's tweet. But I was kind of surprised to see the Warriors linked to him. I think it's smoke. I think that LeBron will either go to Cleveland or LA. And I've come to that conclusion for the past few years. It looked like Cleveland was gearing up to be able to take a swing at a LeBron sign and trade for a long time. And if they wanted, I'm sure in their current state, he'd be like, yeah, why not? you know, it would be about, I mean, the Warriors would be, in my mind, I want to say better, but health wise, it would be tough. But LeBron's free agency decision is looming. I don't think he's going to retire. I think it's probably either LA or Cleveland. And LeBron said a couple of times previously, like, hey, I'll take a pay cut if the Lakers go out and make moves to put together a winning roster, which they can attempt to do. And if he were to take a minimum, which, I mean, I doubt it, they could potentially do that. And because of the way the Austin Reeves extension works, it won't hit till the last day of signings. So you can sign as if you have an open cap table in that area. Of course, you have his cap hold, but his cap hold's less than the contract. Um, so they're going to manipulate that to try to bring in some free agents and retain guys like Marcus Smart, maybe bring in a center. We'll see what ends up happening there. I think it's Lakers or Cavs. I think it'd be funny, but the Warriors and Anthony Davis is a legitimate thing. It's a real conversation. I saw Draymond opt out of his contract. He said he's fully willing to do whatever it takes to help them get this caliber of a player. Very interesting. If that means taking a pay cut and he does, then more power to him. I mean, and he's a real pros pro in the sense of wanting to win. I know he has like negative connotations and everything like that. I probably should have made him the background, but not Jimmy Butler. But I would assume that this would be who gets moved. It'd probably be almost one for one. I mean, these guys both have similar value in terms of older, dealt with a lot of injuries. When they play, they're really, really good. But can these teams afford to continue waiting? I don't know. I think it would solve a lot of problems for the Warriors. You'd get a guy who can rebound, defend the rim. He's extremely athletic, run pick and roll. He's a good playmaker, elite in the short roll, good mid-range game, good back to the basket game. I mean, Anthony Davis, when he's fully healthy, is probably an amazing player, but we don't get to see that a ton, unfortunately. I mean, I love Anthony Davis. He's been one of my favorite players since I was a kid. Um, I don't know. I don't see why not. If you're the Warriors, kind of got to maximize this window. It sucks for Jimmy, but it's like we can't we can't tell Steph Curry at 36 years old or however old he is right now. Hey, can you wait another year while we let him rehab? Maybe we take an off year. Maybe we do another short rebuild, get lucky and hit in the lottery again, and we use our top pick on another top guy and try to build in the future. But that didn't work. And I think it makes the most sense at this point for them to just keep swinging and keep pushing to try and find the correct trade. Not last, and definitely not least, Jaylen Brown. He's probably got to move at this point. Quite a few Twitter, reporters on Twitter. I believe I'm blanking on his name, but there was a reporter that I follow on Twitter that made the point to say they're not getting the offers that they want. There's a chance that they say, I want to say it was Ian. I want to say it was Ian, but what's his first name? Besides the point, they want multiple first, and they want guys that can play now back. I wonder if they're a player in the Anthony Davis trade. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I guess you could start Trey, Jaylen, DeBonsta, Keshawn George, Alex Sarr, but I don't think they should do it. Um, if the Wizards stay together, they'd be really fun. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what team's going to be willing to give up a couple of picks and impactful players right away. The Pelicans? Do the Pelicans think that they could replicate making the playoffs with Jaylen Brown as the focal point and then maybe bringing back Zion to be a number two guy? Does Zion want to be a number two guy? This trade would likely take, salary wise, DeJounte, Herb Jones, or DeJounte and Trey Murphy. Like, he would have to match the salary, and he's got a huge contract. I just don't see the worth of doing that for the Pelicans, especially since the Pelicans at this point need to hit the reset button. Trey Murphy is another guy I wanted to discuss a little bit. Would love for the Hawks to get him, but I'll discuss more about Atlanta here in a moment. I'm not sure where Jaylen goes at this point, especially if the asking price is impactful players and multiple firsts. What team has both that I can think of off the dome? It'd be fun if he could just slot right into the Timberwolves. It'd be fun if he could just slot right into the Cavs. But do the Cavs want to move Evan Mobley for Jaylen Brown? If I'm the Celtics, hard to say no, especially since at this point your relationship is probably entirely fractured with Jaylen Brown. But it's hard to say yes. I'm not quite sure where he goes. Lakers could try, I guess. The Jazz have always been a team that have like mumbled in the background. Now you have the Ime Udoka Rockets connection. I've seen that, pop up on social media a few times. Not sure what that package would look like. Fred VanVleet? You gonna trust Amen as the point guard full time? Still have to be VanVleet and stuff. He's got a huge contract, and that's going to be the difficulty is finding a team to match that. Discuss Trey Murphy. I mean, there's tons of teams that he fits. I don't think there's teams that are going to pay 3 firsts. The Hawks probably pay a couple. That's probably the max you're getting out of them, though. And it probably wouldn't be this 2027 swap because it's going to be 2 tanking, likely not good teams out there. To discuss, I'm going to cover Ja really quick. Ja Morant should just stay in Memphis. Memphis should just let him recuperate his value, let him play for a year, give them a floor general and a really good point guard, put butts in seats. He's a really good player. It kind of sucks that teams are like, oh, you have to attach picks for us to take a salary on. The big team in my mind that was probably trying to get him was the Kings. And it was probably going to be DeMar because I've read a few reporters, including who seem to be a King specific guy, being like, yeah, they might waive DeMar DeRozan, which would be a whole different situation to discuss. But to get into Atlanta, live reaction. Atlanta just traded for Devin Carter. Like just now. A future second round pick. I'm not sure what Onsi will if will be so good that he gets, to qualify for GM of the year, whatever you want to call that. But he's going to be close. Because he's doing really good. This is great. There's no downside to this. Future second round pick for a guy that in my eyes should have been playing last year. I'm super excited to see that. Really, really excited to see how he fits in the rotation. I mean, this is great guard depth. This is a guy that's going to come off the bench and be a point of attack defender, be able to cut to the basket, hit some knockdown threes, play out of the corner. But I wanted to discuss Atlanta a little bit. I'd assume we're making a move. We kept Healed. It seems everything I'm reading is the Hawks and Kuminga are working together to find a good destination. There's teams that I do think should take a shot on Kuminga. The Bucks is a good spot. There's no pressure. Let him go play the game of basketball as he feels. Other than that, any tanking team, but then they have to have something that's $20-30 million that matches the salary and makes a lot of sense for both sides. People have said Jordan Poole. Not sure that fits the style that our front office is going for now, which is the big, tall, versatile, multi-use wings. Overall, probably in the weeds for like a Trey Murphy or Herb Jones, big wings that can knock down threes, play defense and stuff like that. Of course, Herb more of the defense, Trey more of the offense. I think Trey's developed pretty well with the ball in his hands as well. I don't think the Hawks need to rush into anything. Don't think we need a star, especially now having Kingston and having gotten Zuby and Vesar, a guy that people pegged for us at the 23rd pick. Get him at 52, trade some cash. The Hawks seem really high. For anybody who doesn't know, our front office is like never attached cash to a trade. Always taking cash back in trades. And our owner is relatively cheap. No offense to him. I know he's probably stupid rich. doesn't like going to the tax or spending a ton of money or using cash in trades, and he did. So obviously he has a lot of faith in on seeing this team. And I think that it's going to be a very, very interesting season for us. I'm not going to do any expectations. After free agency is over, I'm going to go through every single roster in the league and talk about my favorite off seasons as a whole. But overall, any other things to touch on? I mean, the Andrew Wiggins extension makes sense. It makes sense. He, I believe, opted out and signed the extension, if I'm not mistaken. I might have read that wrong. We have Bradley Beal declining his player option entering free agency, which I don't think is unsurprising with the looming Kawhi Leonard trade that I didn't discuss. So I'll tag that in here at the end. Is that going to happen? I would guess the Raptors and the Pistons be the suitors. I know he doesn't want to go to the Pistons. Um, hey, Kawhi, welcome back to Toronto. I guess it doesn't really move the needle for Toronto to me because it would depend on the package, honestly. They'd have to go out and get a point guard for me to be super high on them. But overall, I mean, that'd be an interesting situation. The Warriors, probably a backup plan for the Warriors could be Kawhi Leonard. I think I might make a Kawhi Leonard specific video, unless tonight when I'm having dinner he gets traded. Then I'll do it tomorrow and I'll react to it. But overall, man, thank you again for the Hawks video. And anybody watching is my Twitter. You can go ahead and follow it. Don't tweet that much. I'm gonna try to tweet more. I kind of want to grow my Twitter so I can grow my YouTube channel. Super excited. Thankful for everybody, and I hope you all have a good rest of your week.